Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good Friday afternoon. I'm Victoria Hill in for Andrea Lutz. Welcome to the Noon News. Coming up, the Big Sky State is hitting the big screen. We'll tell you about a film project underway in Butte. But first, a new report puts Montana as the #1 state people moved to last year. The report takes the number of people moving into a city and divides it by the number moving out. Billings got a 3.9, meaning for every person who moved away in 2021, 4 people moved in. Missoula's numbers were similar, and the report's authors say a lot of our new neighbors may be coming from California. Traffic is flowing again through the Canadian border in the town of Sweetgrass in Toole County. Travelers should still expect significant delays due to the backlog of vehicles from the past several days that are now attempting to enter Canada through Coutts. But this isn't the end of the Freedom Convoy. In Ottawa, thousands of truck drivers and supporters are still gridlocking the city's downtown. Canadian officials fear protests could grow again this week. A Helena district judge is throwing out parts of a law that restricts voter registration drives and other political activity on Montana State College campuses. The judge says the law violates the state constitution, specifically the single subject rule for bills. The bill's original title and subject dealt with joint fundraising campaign committees, but some last-minute changes also banned political committees from conducting voter ID drives, voter registration, and other activities at dining halls, dorms, and athletic facilities on state campuses. Those changes were voided, but the rest of the law will stand. The 2022 campaign for Montana's 2 new congressional districts is well underway, and so is the fundraising, with 2 Republican candidates already surpassing the $1 million mark. MTN's Mike Dennison tells us more about who has the money and where it's coming from.
First, let's look at the race in Montana's new Western District, which includes Bozeman, Missoula, Kalispell, and Butte, and all are part of 16 counties. Former U.S. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, a Republican, is leading the pack for this open seat, having raised almost $1.4 million. Zinke has a national fundraising network from his days as Montana's congressman a half dozen years ago, with donors from 45 states so far. At most, about 1/3 of his money has come from Montanans, while 40% has come from donors in Texas, California, Florida, and the D.C. corridor, and political action committees. The top fundraising Democrat is Bozeman health policy expert Cora Newman, with $764,000 so far. She too has raised substantial funds outside the state, including about 1/4 of her money from California, where she lived for many years. She's also received as much as 1/3 of her money from Montana donors. Most of the other candidates in this Western District race are getting the vast majority of their money from Montanans. Democrat Monica Tranel, a Missoula attorney, raised $416,000 through December. Republican Al Olszewski, a former state senator from Kalispell, took in $413,000. Another Republican, Mary Todd, also from Kalispell, clocks in at $114,000, although nearly half that amount is from her own pocket. And bringing up the rear is Democrat Tom Winter, a former state representative from Missoula, with $52,000, including $10,000 of his own money. In Montana's Eastern District, incumbent Republican Congressman Matt Rosendale has a huge fundraising lead over his potential opponents. But only about 30% of his $1 million raised so far is from Montana donors. He has donors from 40 states and Puerto Rico, including at least $300,000 or 30% from Florida, California, and Texas. His nearest competitor in the money race is Democrat Jack Ballard of Red Lodge, who raised just $71,000 through the end of December. Of course, money isn't everything in a congressional race, but it does give us an indication of a candidate's appeal and viability, and who and where their friends are. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Well, as we cruise on into the weekend, temperatures continuing in that warming trend. For the most part, most of the region going to stay dry. We do have the possibility, though, of course, of seeing the snow in the higher elevations. Western Montana, a little blip of energy coming through, maybe central Montana off to the east as we get into tomorrow. Maybe a rain-snow mix. Maybe tomorrow night we could see just a transition to full-on snow. In terms of accumulation, western Montana, northwest Montana, maybe depending on what models you see up in the higher elevations, we could see a couple of inches of snowfall. But that high pressure really taking over. So after that, Not a whole lot of precipitation really in the forecast for the weekend, but the outlooks show that we may be leaning a little wetter than average as we move forward into February, so something to look forward to. In terms of our temperatures, you can see a lot, very mild out there. A lot of temperatures tonight getting down into the 30s. We'll see some 20s as well, down to 8 in West Yellowstone. And then tomorrow, we'll really start to see those winds pick up across the region with highs in the 30s and 40s.
Butte is the backdrop of a new movie, and the Los Angeles-based director said he had a great experience making his film here in the mining city.
Beautiful nature, great hospitality, everyone involved. We hired a lot of, locals, the foreman that did all of our construction, and a lot of people that worked in the movie were local to Butte, and it's just a great community and a great place to film.
Last Survivors was filmed in and around Butte in December of 2020, and it stars Stephen Moyer and Alicia Silverstone.
These actors were out there in the cold with us, battling the elements, and they just really wanted to make a good film, and I think that's what we did.
Some of the indoor scenes were shot in sets built inside the Butte Civic Center, and some out in the forests around Butte. The production crew included many locals.
They were always, grinning at us as we were shivering in the corner, which I appreciated.
An unexpected snowfall on the final day of shooting enhanced the film.
It's an intense scene, the fathers and the son, there's a confrontation, and there's snow blowing all around them, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have, thank you, Mother Nature, I could not have planned this better.
One of the offshoots that can come from this, because the movie's going to say, filmed in Butte, Montana, on, public and private lands, that it's going to say to people, hey, I've got to go visit this place.
Much of the film was shot in remote areas just outside of town and in town, including the historic Stevens Building at Park in Montana. It just shows the diversity of locations that can be found in the Butte area.
Flying here yesterday and just seeing, oh, we filmed there, I stayed there, we did all this stuff here. It was beautiful. It made me really emotional, and it's beautiful to be back here in Butte. It feels like a really great bookend for what was a really special movie.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.